Hi Princeton. Today we're going to be learning about the effect of levees and canals on the Louisiana wetlands. So this was actually supposed to be a debate, and then you're going to write an essay for homework, but because I'm not there, you're just going to be working on researching independently and writing the essay, which is actually good for you guys because you should have more than enough time to finish your essay in class, so you won't have to do it for homework. So first you're going to watch this video. There is also a second video that goes through the articles. Then you're going to read the articles that I have given to you and fill in the guided notes on the front page. You're going to research more if you'd like to, just using the Google search terms that I give you. And then you're going to write a multi-paragraph essay. So looking at the worksheet that you've been given, at the top you have your prompt. Louisiana wetlands are quickly disappearing due to both human and natural causes. You're going to explain why humans have altered the land by building levees and digging canals. So explain why these levees and canals are important. And how do these two human actions impact the loss of coastal wetlands? Finally, describe the importance of wetlands to people here in Louisiana. So for your guided notes, you have the pros and cons of levees. Pros are the same as the good things about levees. Why are they good? And then cons are the bad things. You're going to do the same thing for canals. What are the good things? And what are the bad things? You can tear off this front sheet and include notes as you read along. After that, your first 2 pages, this is just extra space for notes if you need it. Then on your next page, you have your articles. Your first article talks mainly about levees. So Article 2 talks about levees and canals. Article 3 is anti-canals, so this is good for cons about canals. And the last article is pro-canals, so this is good for pros about canals. And then on the last page, you have your search terms that you can type in to help you find more information. All right, so before we get into the research, here's just some background information on levees. So what are levees? Levees are built to help stop flooding during major storms. I'm trying to pull up the picture that I had that didn't show up in that version of the PowerPoint. Here, so levees are built to protect us and our communities from flooding. As you can see, that's an example of a levee failing and a flood is occurring. And canals are just man-made streams like this that are mainly done by oil and gas industries and allow for transportation. And then just a background on land loss in Louisiana. Over the past few decades, a lot of land has been lost along the coast, mainly along the wetland. Mainly wetlands have been lost. And wetlands and islands are really important for storm protection. So having the land loss along the coast has actually been really tough for Louisiana in terms of protecting itself from storms. All right, on your science website, you have a link to this interactive. So you can access it from the science website, and I'll pull it up here. This is just an interactive which talks about the land loss in Louisiana and why it's occurring. So looking at the front, it says, in 50 years, most of southern Louisiana not protected by levees will be part of the Gulf of Mexico. So this means that all this land down here will just become part of the Gulf. The state is losing a football field of land every 48 minutes. 16 square miles a year due to climate change, drilling, and dredging for oil and gas, and levees on the Mississippi River. So levees are one of the things we're going to be talking about. And like I said, canals are mostly a result of the oil and gas industry. All right, and so on this map, you can see if you look at the past, this is a map of the past. Then if you click and you go to the present, you can see the amount of land that has been lost over the past century. So in 1922, this all down here was land, and now in 2014, so much of that land has been lost and is now part of the Gulf of Mexico. If you click on specific areas, you can see it even more up close, that if you go throughout the timeline, way back in the 1900s, all of this was land, and then as you click forward, you start to see that land disappearing even more, until today, most of that land doesn't exist anymore. All right, if we click on the levee slide, this is just an overview of how levees impact land loss in Louisiana. After the Great Mississippi Flood of 1927, which displaced 700,000 people from Illinois to New Orleans, Congress called for a system of levees to protect communities. This cut off the river from its delta. Starved of sediment and freshwater, the land in the delta has been drying out, decomposing and sinking at one of the fastest rates in the planet. So there was this big flood in 1927, and so the government built these levees in order to help protect southern Louisiana, but it's actually harmed it by getting rid of the wetlands by cutting off the delta. Then if we click on the canals, there's an overview of how canals have impacted the land loss as well. So the canals that were created, the sinking that started with the levees went into overdrive after more than 10,000 miles of canals, which you can see with all of those orange lines, were dredged to reach oil and gas wells. So they were created for transportation to the oil and gas wells. Researchers say this vast spiderweb of canals, only a portion of which is shown here due to the lack of available data, is responsible for up to, I think that says 60% of wetlands loss since the 1930s. So these canals that were built for transportation for oil and gas wells are further helping the land loss that's happening in Louisiana. So if you want to click on this interactive on the science website, you can read through more on the side here where it goes through the overview of land loss. And then you can go back to your worksheet and it has all the articles for you to research as well. In the next video, I'm going to be reading some of these articles and modeling how to take notes in your guided notes. After you read those articles, you're going straight to your essay. And make sure that that essay is done. I'm going to have Ms. Dargan keep track of who has completed their essays. And if you have not completed it, I will be checking for it on Monday as your homework.